Hey, how's it going? Doing another video today, this time on comic life. So, the kind of things I've learned doing 5 weeks now of comics. And let me tell you, I am working on today's comic, and now it's tomorrow. So, I would highly recommend sticking to your schedule and not trying to let your backlog get away from you. I had the issue where I decided to be a little overambitious in one of my comic panels and go ahead and do this whole entire scene, and because I spent so much time working on that, it ended up being such that I wasn't able to go ahead and keep the buffer that I had built up. I had 4 weeks of buffer, but it took me 4 weeks to animate this little scene, so I ended up having to work on commissions and stuff, and that took up some time. Unfortunately, because I was working so much on that, I wasn't able to work on the future comics, so it was just a slew of different things going on that kind of ended up making it so I wasn't able to get the comics done before like I had wanted to. I'm still trying to stick to the schedule really as much as I can, and now the goal will be to move forward and try to definitely make sure that I can build up a buffer again. And when I want to add animation, I think I'm just going to do it little bits at a time once I get this buffer going and basically work on the animation over a month but not allow the backlog to suffer. So it'll be one of those things that's more of a side project. It may just be that at first, the initial comic, it won't have as much animation as I'd like. I really wanted to have at least one animated panel in the comic once a month, but it may be that I need to reassess my priorities on that, and I might have to go ahead and switch it around. So that's another thing when you're doing comics that I've learned is you gotta really be flexible. And while it's important to have a goal and to try to maintain that goal, I feel like you also have to be realistic about where your time constraints are. And maybe one of those time constraints happens to be that you have to change up the original idea that you had. Maybe make it a little either less common if you're wanting to do something like animation, or if you're wanting to make a really involved, very detailed comic, then maybe one of the things you want to do is to space out the updates. Maybe if you're trying to do multiple updates a week and that's becoming very difficult, maybe something else you can try is to space it out to maybe every 2 weeks. So just different things depending on the kind of things that you're working on in your project. It's always important to be flexible and to make sure that you're not overstressing yourself when you don't really need to. Another thing is sticking to the schedule. And as I said, I'm going to be a little bit late delivering today's comic, but it's still Wednesday somewhere in the world. So I figured as long as I'm updating while it's still Wednesday, even if it's not Wednesday right here where I am, it's going to still be close enough that in the grand scheme, I'm still sticking close enough to the schedule that I'm not getting too far off. The plan originally was that I would have the comic done well in advance, and then on Wednesday I would do a video and I could work on my video on Wednesday, so when I post it on Thursday, it's not such a big hassle exporting video and trying to get it all situated. And yeah, it's 2:30 in the morning and I'm recording this right now, so it's just one of those things where I'm just gonna have to focus my time a little bit better when I do have it to be able to draw. I pretty much woke up today early for some reason, early for me, and started drawing right away, or trying to, and then just kept seeing those hours like slip out of my hands, and it was really frustrating. I tried Twitch streaming a little bit as well, and while I really enjoy it, my computer lags a ton on it, and I used up a lot of time. Turns out I can complete a panel from sketch to finish within an hour, and I am pretty happy about that progress, but unfortunately, it's one of those things where if I'm not careful on what I'm doing with my time, then those hours can really slip away from you. And especially with streaming and everything taking so much slower, maybe it's one of those things that I have to budget. Like, I have to make sure that I get my comic done and then I can stream, because I just know trying to do the comic while streaming is probably not a great idea. So it's, just a lot of planning and figuring things out and trying to make sure that things are going the way they need to in order for them to work out the best way possible. Another thing I was kind of happy to see is that people seem to really like the comic. I generally have been getting, to indicate some progress, I've been getting somewhere in the neighborhood of about 50 likes per Instagram post, and a lot of times my comics get about 80. So, it's not a huge difference, but it's something, and it's nice to know that the stuff that I'm doing, that I'm really passionate about, that is the big project that I'm really trying to work hard on, is something that people appreciate, as well as some of the other things I've been working on my Instagram channel. So it's just a nice kind of thing to see when you're working really hard on your own property and you are hoping that people like it. And it seems like people do like it. I did get a comment, though, that said that someone wasn't aware that it was a comic, that it's not always super noticeable to people, that on Instagram you can scroll through and see multiple images. If you know Instagram very well, then you know the little symbol, the little multiple page symbol up at the corner. But if you're not as familiar, you may miss that, and you may just like someone's first post, just that first picture on there. And I've kind of toyed with the idea of making it the first picture on there, like a little instruction manual, like, hey, this is a comic, swipe to be able to see more of the panels. And I still may go that way, but for now, I just really like the way it looks on the page when you scroll through and you can actually see the first panel of each first comic. So, I don't know. I'm still playing around with the idea. I'm still trying to figure out stuff, so we'll see. I am early days on this, so the fact that anyone seems to like it and they seem to appreciate what I'm working on right now is pretty awesome, and I'm really excited to see how this next month will go. So stay tuned for another Comic Life update, and if you want to see more of the comic, then of course you can check me out on the various social medias by going to @CharReadArt, and that's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you're interested in seeing the super behind-the-scenes stuff, you can check out my Patreon at patreon.com/CharRead. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great time. Bye!